Zoser, the founder of the Third Dynasty and the owner of the enclosure or complex of Saqqara that starts by the wall behind me. He was the first king who attempted to build a pyramid, not a complete one, but one composed of 6 steps. Each step is smaller than the other one to the top. The enclosure itself is actually an engineering miracle. If we take a look at the wall behind me, it's full of recesses to give you the impression that these are actually small doors when you come from a long distance. He was a very special man, and together we're going to see his spectacular complex in Saqqara.
King Zoser was known in the documents of his time by the name Eri Ghet Nehri, which means the one who belongs to the divine body. The name could be also read as Nesri Er Ghet or Ghet Nesri. Then, since the 12th dynasty, he became known by Djeser, which means the sacred, from which the known name Zoser was derived. The name Zoser was connected with his tomb that took the shape of the step mastaba, or steps, which was also connected with his architect and vizier Imhotep, whose fame became widespread as long as the Egyptian civilization era lasted. The Greeks equated him with Asclepius, their god of medicine. Imhotep supervised the building of the pyramidical complex of Zoser, which is composed of the wall surrounding the complex, the entrance, the Habset temple, and the funerary temple. There is also the cell containing his statue looking to the north. The southern tomb and the house of the north and the house of the south are also there.
During the ancient Egyptian time, the Old Kingdom, it was King Zoser who made the first attempt to build a column. His architect Imhotep tried to make a column by making it out of several parts, one part above the other one. The column represents a bunch of flowers. They're actually papyrus flowers ending up by closed capital. And to make sure that the column will not fall apart, it is joined with the wall of the entrance of the complex of King Zoser by a thin wall, a wall that joins between the column and the side wall. And thanks God they did that, because till today, all the columns of the entrance are still held in a very good condition.
Imhotep has made a radical change in the art of architecture, for he has used stones in a wide range, the thing that was not known before, as the mud bricks were the main building material. This was the beginning of making a tomb with a semi-pyramidical shape. Imhotep has imitated the characteristics of the plant construction, which his ancestors achieved earlier in their mud bricks constructions, but he did it in stones architecture. In addition to the pyramidical collection in Saqqara, the name of King Zoser was connected with a text inscribed on a stone in Sohail Island, south of Aswan, known as the famous stele. The text tells the story of famine event that happened in the reign of King Zoser as a result of the low level of water in the Nile for 7 years. The answer came that the village Abu, the capital of the first nome, is the one that prevents the flow of the Nile water. The tale tells that King Zoser saw in his dream Gat-Khnum, the deity of the area, reminding him of his power and control over the sources of the Nile, and that he has to satisfy and please him and ask for his consent. So he endowed to him vast areas of agricultural lands, offerings to be presented to him. It seems that this story, which was written during the Ptolemaic period, shows the fear of the priests of Gat-Khnum from the power of the priest of goddess Isis, which was increasing. Thus, by this story, they wanted to retrieve the sympathy of the Ptolemaic kings and prove that the kings since ancient times, which is in this case the time of Zoser, were keen on their god Khnum.
The step pyramid of King Zoser in Saqqara is composed of 6 steps. Each one is smaller to the top. The brilliant architect Imhotep thought about building a funerary place for his master, the king, King Zoser. So he started in the beginning by 2 steps. Then the king was not so pleased. So he enlarged the 2 steps to make another 2 steps above them, ending up in 6 steps. Where is the king buried? He was buried under the ground. There are more than 300 years cut out in the rocks under the pyramid. That pyramid gave the idea of building complete pyramids to those kings who ruled Egypt in the dynasties that followed the 3rd dynasty.
The one who succeeded Zoser on the throne was King Sekhemkhet, who wanted to build himself a step mastaba in Saqqara, like his father, but he died before completing the job. That unfinished pyramid showed that the treasury of the country couldn't handle the gigantic expenses, so the advanced architectural step which Imhotep has started backed up during Sekhemkhet, in reverse to what was expected. The last king of this family of the 3rd dynasty was King Huni, who ruled for 24 years. It is suggested that he is the king who started building Maidum pyramid but died before completing it. So, it was King Senefru, the first king of the 4th dynasty, who finished it. The small pyramid in El-Kom al-Ahmar is believed to be his only complete pyramid.
The Old Kingdom is that magnificent era of the Egyptian history when the first steps of building pyramids in Egypt started. It was in the 3rd dynasty that the attempts of building a lasting tomb for the king using stone began. These fabulous projects started from the 3rd dynasty and continued progressing till the 6th dynasty. The biggest common factor between these dynasties is a constructional element which was represented best in reaching the complete pyramidal shape of the king's tomb. Since the most important Egyptian pyramids were built in that era, thus it's the era of the pyramids builders, which are included within the area from Abu Rawash in the north until Maydum in the south. The 3rd dynasty ruled Egypt for more than 70 years through 6 kings who are Sanacht, Zoser, Sekhemkhet, Khapa, Nebkau, and Huni. The most famous king in the 3rd dynasty was King Zoser, whose name was connected with the step pyramid in Saqqara, and his architect and minister Imhotep, who was famous throughout the entire Egyptian history, and the Greeks equated him with their god of medicine Aesculapius. The collection of the step pyramid in Saqqara was a giant jump in the Egyptian architecture, grading from the mastaba style of the tomb and taking it to a larger scale by composing 6 gradual mastabas or steps, decreasing in size to the top, rising above more than 30 chambers of burials dug under the ground. King Zoser's name was also connected with the most famous rock in Sohail Island in Aswan, known by the name of the Famine Palette. A story is engraved on the rock that happened during Zoser's reign as a result of the drop down of the Nile's water for 7 years. The king got upset, so he asked the high priest to check it out and find the reason behind that. The reply came that the village of Abu, which was the capital of the first nome, is the one preventing the flow of the water. The story tells that King Zoser saw in his dream God Khnum, the god of the territory, reminding him of his strength and control over the Nile water. So when Zoser woke up, he believed that Khnum had to be satisfied. So he donated to him massive areas of land and ordered offerings to be presented to him. It seems that this story, that was written in the Ptolemaic period, shows the fear and respect the priests of Khnum had towards goddess Isis, whose power was increasing. So they wanted, with reviving that story, to regain the sympathy of the Ptolemaic kings and prove that kings of the ancient times revered their god Khnum. King Huni was the last king of the 3rd dynasty, and he ruled for 24 years. He started building the pyramid of Maydum, but died before completing it. So King Senefru, the first king of the 4th dynasty, finished it. King Huni's other attempt to build a pyramid was here in Elminia Governorate, 7 kilometers south of Elminia city, on the east bank of the Nile. The site was imported in the ancient times 5,000 years ago, as it's called Hebnum, which was the capital of the 16th nome of Egypt, known as the Ibex Nome. The area is called now El Qom El Ahmar, or the Red Hill. It's a cemetery of some of the rulers of the capital Hebnu, but was first used by King Huni, who attempted to build the first shape of a complete pyramid with its 4 sides, the model which was later developed on a much larger scale by King Huni's successor, King Senefru. In Dahshur, the engineer of the king built a pyramid in the shape of a complete pyramidical shape, but the attempt wasn't successful, for after they rose to the 98th meter, they changed the angles to make the building look like a mastaba topped by a pyramid. This pyramid is called the Bent Pyramid and still has its outer coating cover. The second pyramid of Senefru was the first complete pyramidical shape achieved when the king's engineers used all the experience they got and avoided committing the same mistakes of the first pyramid. Perhaps time was kind enough to savor these fabulous early pyramidical buildings to answer back the history imposters who do their best to mutilate Egypt's history, claiming funny enough that aliens built the pyramids and bringing up the picture of the Great Pyramid as if it came in that accuracy out of nowhere. That ridiculous claim is a most failure and ignorant attempt ever, trying to strip Egypt out of its glorious past. But our monuments stand witness to the early and gradual attempts to build these marvelous constructions as tombs of their pharaohs, who were half-gods, in the shape of pyramids, to immortalize and revere them till the end of time. So it's time to take a second look with wonder and admiration to King Huni's pyramid.